Hi Wayne, how's it going?
I'm good. How you doing? Good to see you
I'm
again.
Yeah, good to see you again. So, thank you for joining us today on this kind of quick video recap on Frontend Nation. If you all haven't already seen Wayne at Frontend Nation, he was on a panel with me at Life as a DevRel. And I think you guys should really hear about him. So, we're going to get started. And Wayne, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and your work at Convex?
First, thanks for having me. And like you said, it was great. Had fun on the DevRel panel. So a little bit about me. I'm Wayne Sutton, head of community and events at Convex. Convex is a full backend as a service platform for developers to build full stack applications. And before that, I've done some head of community developer evangelist work at some other startups in the Bay Area. And before that, I organized like tech conferences around the world around culture and inclusion and consult with many startups around culture as well. And before that, as you see these gray hairs, was a big advocate around mental health and self-awareness in tech. And lastly, before that, was working on programs to increase access to capital for early stage startup founders.
Wow. That is a huge career. So many valuable nuggets. I don't even know where to start, but let me start here. I guess you've been in sort of the startup space, the community space, the advocacy space. What's your favorite?
Oh, wow. Oh, I would say my favorite is working with early stage startup founders and helping them around access to capital, but it's like that energy around helping them launch successful companies or figure out, is this what you really want to be doing in life?
That is incredible. Nice.
Yeah.
Any interesting startups that you came by during your time that we might have heard of
Wow.
today?
I remember the Lean Startup Canvas and Sheena Allen. Yeah. And we were talking and she asked me, and we knew each other from social media. We was talking, she was like, in advice and about, doing a startup. And I was like, be mindful of the journey and be mindful of what it takes in terms of consistency and the will to survive and and doing one thing really well, right? There's all those things, willing to survive, like consistency, doing one thing really well and stick with it. Because the road as a startup founder is hard. It's not,
Mm-hmm.
people talking about like the wild ones. It's she's still doing it today, and I think she made done a TED talk, raised some money, like got some federal grants, but her company I believe is doing really well, and and here we are, what, 12, 14 years later. And as a single founder, as a woman of color, you know, 2012 wasn't an easy time,
Mm-mm.
right? And doing something like in the fintech space as well. Like that wasn't a cool time to,
Yeah.
I mean, it was a good time, but it wasn't an easy time in the tech space. And so, and she was not in San Francisco, Silicon Valley. She was visiting
Okay.
for the Lean Startup Conference. And so she was visiting, so she's doing a startup with all the other life obstacles or challenges and not in a major tech hub at the time. And yeah, she's still doing it.
That's amazing. That's inspiring. I hope
Yeah.
developers out there are listening to sort of an inspirational story about kind of, as you said, like picking one thing, doing it really well, and doing it consistently makes such a big difference. So
Yeah.
definitely agree with you on that. I'm going to switch gears from like the startup space to what kind of connected us, which is Frontend Nation. Both Tiny and Convex were at Frontend Nation this year. What was your favorite part about the conference?
Yeah, great question. I would say our panel. I'm gonna be biased,
Yeah.
but
This is
it was fun.
not
Our
biased
panel was
at
fun.
all.
It's our panel, but some other parts of the conference were some of the other technical talks that bridge the gap between it's front end nation, but we're also talking about different stacks in terms of like React and Views and all those things, different frameworks. And Convex, we also did two workshops. We had a workshop for one of our software engineers, Tom Ballinger, who talked about using a React framework to build an app with Convex, and then later on gave a workshop later. But overall, I say Front Nation did a great job of like, not just talking about front end, but just talking about the full stack.
As you said, Convex is more for back-end developers, but
Mhm.
when you think about back-end these days, so many people are moving towards this sort of full stack development, and it's really important to consider both ends of that. Tiny, on the other hand, sits on the front end of things. And, for us, it was valuable that we could see those three different frameworks and see what kind of innovations were happening, what were developers talking about, and how can we sort of position ourselves to best serve our developers. And it's been a very interesting mix of this sort of front end meets back end. And, in some ways, Front End Nation could even be called Full Stack Nation, just because of the number of like talks and panels and workshops that I saw. There was almost end to end. Even the one that we did at Tiny was, it did have some sort of API to it where we were calling on an API and connecting it. We didn't develop a full stack app, but it had the potential to, and that's kind of eventually what it would look like in production. And I think I attended one of the Convex workshops, and
Mhm.
if guys haven't already done that, both Tiny and Convex did workshops at Front End Nation. Definitely check it out. It's kind of live coding with the specific developer advocate, and you kind of learn a lot more, even just getting started with our individual technologies. But that pitch aside, I just really found it fascinating how important both back end for front end has become and front end for back end has become, and how important it really has become for a lot of developers to be full stack and not just front end. Would you agree with that?
I agree wholeheartedly, and yeah, great summary as well. I agree because the market has changed in tech around speed and
Mm,
expectation,
yeah,
right? If you're building a venture-backed startup, the speed of what now investors are seeing apps built has changed. So now, if you're going to be a full stack founder, a full stack developer, the expectation is from, let's say you just on the tech, not you're not the founder, but you're on the dev side for a startup. That founder is going to have like pressure on you as a developer to build faster, build quicker, to ship faster because the market has changed. And then now with AI and everything, everybody expects everything immediately. So the why has increased expectations on what developers, on the speed of developer output, right?
that's
And
yeah.
so if you're a full stack founder, you can do front end, you can do back end, you can ship fast, you can have different input, you can ask different customer questions or get different feedback, versus just looking at things from a single lens. And so that's where I believe the industry is moving forward. So if you're a back end developer, or that's what I'm doing things with Convex. We make it easy if you are a full stack or front end developer. We take care of a lot of the back end. And if you're a back end developer, we have different quick start guides to help you get started on the front end side as well.
That's actually incredible. Something we could potentially even take inspiration from. Well, Wayne, it was really great chatting with you and learning about Convex, learning about your plethora of experiences for the many years in the tech industry, as well as your advice on, whether it's being a full stack developer, being a founder, being persistent across time, and most importantly, finding something that you're good at and being really good at it and having a depth of understanding. Thank you so much for joining us, Wayne. This was wonderful.
Yeah. Thanks for having me and great to see you again.